Good morning. This is the Blaine's World podcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and get more information and listen to previous shows at our website, which, if I move out of the way, is the wrong way, it's blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information that people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Jen Hyde. And Jen Hyde is an amazing woman, as you'll just see in a second. But before we begin, Jen, why don't you wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this? Okay. And
Hi.
if you're watching this, that's Jen Hyde. And she is, she does a whole bunch of things, but she's an aerial skills tech teacher / coach, a face painter, some other things as well. But I should mention that Jen has followed her love of movement, play, and creative expression throughout Central and South Africa, back and forth across states to Europe and New Zealand, and back home again to Asheville. Her passion in arts comes from her enthusiastic desire to help folks realize what an incredible gift to have body and come alive on this planet, and they are capable of more than they realize. She's currently teaching aerial skills at Amethyst. Is that how you pronounce it? Amethyst
Realm.
Sorry, and face painting at street markets, and private events around West North Carolina and surrounding areas. And so the first question I'll ask you, Jen, since the first time we've met on the air here, is as a child, you grew up where?
I grew up in Miami.
Okay, and as a child growing up, do you always know you want to be an aerial artist?
Absolutely not.
No?
As a child, I didn't use my body very much. I was used to hot weather. I stayed indoors. I made a lot of art and I watched a lot of TV.
Did you do face painting also then?
No, not until college.
Well, let's talk about that then. How did you get into, we'll take the aerial arts first. How did you get into that?
Well, I started taking martial arts classes, specifically capoeira, and I went to Brazil to study more, and I injured myself. And while I was injured, I saw a sign up in town that said, circus arts classes, all ages welcome. And I went to try it out because I couldn't use my wrists. My wrists were shot from an injury. I showed up. I was 10 years older than the instructors, and I was 15, 20 years older than most of the other students. But I fell in love with it because I got to use my body in a non-competitive way. So I got to have all the fun of using my body without being in competition with anyone else.
And so what did you learn then in these first courses?
We did a little bit of everything. We did trapeze, aerial silks, the high wire, and clown class. And I developed my love of clown as well, which is another thing that I teach.
By the way, I should mention as an aside, if anybody's watching or listening to this, the circus is in town this week. Do you know that?
I do. I'm going tomorrow night.
Oh, well, yeah, we're going on Sunday, and it's
Yeah.
Venado, I think, circus. Have you
Mhm.
seen it before?
No, but I love the circus. It's
Okay,
my
we're going to love
passion.
this. It's the absolute best. So if anybody's listening, look for that. If you come tomorrow night, you'll see Jen. If you come on Saturday, you'll see me. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe in your spare time, this will be another future gig for you. You could be in the circus. But you took
Right.
these courses, and what do you then start doing with the courses after you took them?
I just started playing on my own. I took more classes, and then whenever I would find a place where I could hang a silk up on big tree limbs and studios, I just took classes everywhere. I wanted to teach everyone that I knew how much fun it was, and I just kept going.
Now, talk to me about that. So that you took courses, and as part of the course, do you then have to buy a silk to become do this, or you one eventually?
I mean, if you want to do it on your own in your own space and time, you need a rigging point and you need a silk and a mat. So there's an initial investment, but after that, you're good to go.
And so where do you set this up? Can you set it up anywhere?
You need to set it up in somewhere that has been approved to be able to hold falling weight. So usually like supporting beams and houses are designed for that, or you can get someone whose specialty is testing weight on roofs and stuff to come check it out.
Now, is that what you have where you're living? Do you have this set up where you live?
I have a short one set up in my garage. But I come here to Amethyst Realm where I teach, and I train here as well.
And maybe we'll jump ahead a little bit, but since you were talking to me off the air about the facility, we're going to take a little field trip here. But you could just show us that to maybe get a better idea of what this is all about. And as Jen's
Absolutely.
moving here, we're with Jen Hyde, and oh, this is very great, Jen. Jen is showing us the facility where she teaches. Do you work out here also, Jen?
I do work out here, and the beautiful thing about this space, it just opened up a few months ago. It's called Amethyst Realm. It's an all ages play space. So they really want to have adults and kids here being able to play together, because often we have adults do a class while children sit and wait, or the other way around. And here people can play together. They have cacao. It's a sober place. They have parties, dance parties here. So it's a pretty amazing spot to have in Asheville.
Yeah, it looks it. And she mentioned cacao. What's that?
Cacao is it's unsweetened chocolate. So
Oh,
they
okay.
take the chocolate, they melt it, they add maple syrup, and they make a delicious cacao drink.
Okay, so you're tempting me to try to go there, just to get this
Yes,
drink.
it's really, really good. Yeah.
So that's a great. So you actually do your workouts at that facility?
Well, now I do my workouts like before or in between classes. There are other silk studios in town where I also go work out and train, or in my garage.
Now, when you talk about silk, training on silk, what does that entail?
Well, it can be all different things. It might just be doing things to work on the engagement of different muscles, or um, work on my lower abs. So it might be wrapping my arms around the silks, and then I try and lift my knees. I try and lift my legs. I do pull-ups, or I can work on various sequences in order, to work on body awareness and grace. So there's all different kinds of things that I can do on the silks, but it's a full body workout.
It sounds it. Now, what if you never did this before? Can anybody learn this?
Absolutely. Everybody can learn it. It's for some people come and they think, oh my God, I could never do that fancy stuff. And the thing is, you're not going to do the fancy stuff in the first class, So we all start where we're at and we train with where we're at. But I have grandmothers come to my class. I have people who work in offices all day come to my class. And I also have like teenagers and kids who can flip around and go upside down from the first day, and they're all in class together. And we're all working on the same skills at different levels.
Well, I like what you did. You explained to me the other day off the air, but you were saying somebody comes there for the first time. What happens, especially if they've never done this before? How do you train them?
Yeah. So my philosophy is that before you start learning tricks and skills, that you should have some strength and body awareness already. So the first thing we do is we do a warm up on the floor, starting to engage our muscles and stretch out on the floor. Then we do different skills on the silks, but just really low level, just to engage our muscles and start getting body awareness. So can you do this one thing with one hand and a different thing with the other hand, and then a different thing with your foot? And then once you get those down, we'll start to work on, can you take a step up? Can you get off the ground? Can you wrap your feet so that your feet are holding you up by being wrapped around the silks? And then put an elbow around and open your arm out to the side. So every class works as a progression. And then we take the last 10 minutes of the class where you just get to play with whatever part that we worked on that you find the most joyful. And that could be doing stretches by just leaning back on the silks. That could be working on a move that's really hard for you. Whatever you choose for the day.
It must be very exciting when somebody does this for the first time, if they've never done this before, and can see that they can succeed.
I gotta say, it's exciting every single class, because every single class, people can do things they couldn't do the week before. And so we celebrate in here whenever people come in and they're like, I can't get off the ground. And it's just like, how long have you spent doing it? 15 minutes? Great. Take a couple classes, you'll get off the ground. So every single class we're celebrating.
So what happens then? So I sign up. When you ask people to sign up explain your philosophy, which I think is kind of cool, that they sign up and it's a sequential thing, or they have to take a lot of classes at one time, or can they drop in? How does that work?
So people can drop in. It's $20 for a drop in, and I ask you to book in advance so that I can prepare the class and I know how many students are coming because I have a cap at 8 students. That's the amount of people that I can manage at one time. But you can buy a block of 4 classes in a row. And for me, that's the best deal because, first of all, you get $20 off automatically by doing it. But also, you can actually see progression when you do 4 classes in a row. With one class, you come in and you go, oh, that was easy or that was hard. But by the second class, you go, oh my God, I did something I couldn't do last week. And you start to actually get the hang of it.
Now, if people want to sign up, best bet is to what? Go to your website?
Yeah, you can go to my website and that'll direct you to my email address or my phone number. And then you just contact me directly and I'll book you into the class. And that's bodyartmagic.com.
Okay, couldn't be simpler. And your contact information is there as well?
Yes, all my contact information is there. And you can also link, if you click on Circus Arts, you can also link to my Instagram and my Facebook page, and you can see pictures of some of my other students or videos of my other students in classes. If you need
Now,
some inspiration before you come.
it would seem to me too that this would make a really cool party for somebody to have. Could they have a party?
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
what happens at a party?
So at a party, it's the same thing as a class, but just a little more celebratory and a looser structure. So I've done birthday parties and bachelorette parties. So what's happened in the past is people show up. Often they buy a pitcher of cacao before they come. So they sit and they chat. They drink chocolate drinks, and then I show up. We do a workout together that's generally more relaxed than one of my classes. And then we start to learn some simple basic skills together. And then at the end, after the class is over, we turn the music up and they get to play on the silks and just have a bit of party themselves.
Talk about the age range this is appropriate for. In other words, I can see kids, there's a beginning age you start at and then going up to a certain age.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are other places that will teach younger kids, but I take kids 8 and up because I really focus on body awareness and strength building. And so I need to have people in my class that can focus. And so from ages 8 to I've had 70-year-olds in my class before and
Okay,
working alongside 8-year-olds. It's a beautiful thing.
so there's hope for me. In other words,
There's hope for you. My dad came to one of my classes and
did
he
he?
got upside down and he was just amazed. He was like, I had no idea what you did was so hard and so awesome.
But he survived the experience. Your dad did?
He survived. He survived. He had a wonderful time. I have photos to prove it. You can actually see a photo on my website of my dad in
Now
my
talk
class.
about you as a performer. So you're a teacher, obviously, of these skills.
Mhm.
Do you also perform?
I've performed a few times, but my life philosophy is about relationship interaction. I'm not really into spectatorship. So I love teaching. I love celebrating people's successes. So I'll perform if that means it'll get more people in a class and we can play together. Because that's really where my love is.
Now, once you learn these skills, you personally, do you still take other courses or do you still learn, are you still learning other stuff to do on this?
All the time. All the time. There's no end in sight for where you can go with this. And no matter how strong you get, you always want to get stronger. So it continues to be exciting and fun.
Now, is this an issue of strength, though? In other words, do you need to be a certain strength to do this well?
You need to be a certain strength, but you don't have to be super strong. There's a lot of things involved. You have to have, I mean, body awareness is a huge thing. So some people come in super strong, but they can't figure out how to tell their body to do one thing and not the other. So that's what we focus on for them. For other people, it's a fear of heights. And so that's what we focus on for them. For other people, it's their ego. Ego is huge in silks because it's really true. There's a lot of failure. And people only see what's on Instagram and they want to look that good. But you got to work hard and you got to say, oh, I failed at that. So so strength is only one small part of it.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things you can do if you're not super strong.
I was going to ask you that. So how long does it take to become moderately proficient at this?
That depends on everybody. It really does. I have one student, she was with me for 3 years and it took her about 2.5 years to get off the ground, literally. But she did all of the sequences right off the ground. It was
I think we might be frozen here. We'll hopefully get back to Jen. We're
for me.
speaking, as we wait to get back to Jen, we're speaking with Jen Hyde, and there she is again. Hey, Jen. So you were talking about
Hi.
this one student to get off it took her 3 years?
Took her 3 years to get off the ground, but she practiced on her strength and all the sequences, um, just 2 inches above the ground. But she couldn't figure out how to climb. And to be honest, someone once told her that they didn't think she could climb. And it was actually her doctor. She came in the next day and she was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. And she went up to the ceiling and did all the sequences she'd been working on for 3 years. So it was a mental challenge. So how long does it take to be proficient? I mean, you could learn fancy stuff in a few months. You could learn it in a few years. You could be like me, where it's 15 years later and you still want to get better, you know? I don't think there's ever a stopping point of I've made it now.
I mentioned something you just said about getting up to the ceiling. So I can get at 2 feet above the ground, but how high do you go up on this?
As high as the ceiling is.
I mean,
So here at Amethyst Realm, the silks are maybe 10 feet. So you'll be climbing up, 4 or 5 feet before you can touch the ceiling. But there's other places where the ceilings are 15 feet tall or 25 feet tall, and then you can climb that high.
what's the
Of
highest?
course, I don't recommend that unless you know how to climb back down again safely.
So lesson one, I'm not going to learn that the very first time I take a
No,
lesson.
no,
But- so-
absolutely not.
So talk about the safety factor though. So if I go 10 feet above the ground or 15 feet above the ground, how safe is that?
Well, I don't let students go that high unless I see that they're comfortable, proficient, and that they know how to handle themselves when they stress out. So if they forget a move, does their legs automatically go wrap around and stop themselves? So whenever we learn a new skill, we do it a couple inches off the ground and we do it dozens of times until it becomes automatic. And once your muscle memory is there, then I watch people do it higher and we gradually get to the point. So is it safe? You need to take care of yourself and make sure that you're capable of doing it to get that high. And then we have pads on the ground.
So how long did you study this, or you said you're still studying, but you studied for a while?
Yeah, so I actually went to Argentina. Argentina has amazing circus schools. And I went, I think, for 6 months, like twice, and I would train every day in a different skill. I took trampoline classes and silks classes and dance classes and contortion classes, and had some amazing teachers there. I trained at Aerial Space, which is here in Asheville. I've taken intensives out in Boulder at Frequent Flyers. So all kinds of places whenever I see an opportunity.
So what got you overseas though? I saw that in your background. How come you went elsewhere?
Why did I go to Argentina?
Yeah.
Well, I was a wilderness guide. So I would work like a 5-month season, where I didn't spend any money because I was living in a tent and working the whole time. And then I would take my paycheck and go travel. And so I just had a friend tell me that Argentina has amazing circus schools. And I said, sounds great to me. I went to Brazil because I was studying capoeira and I wanted to go to where the center of capoeira was. So I wanted to see the world.
Hi, we're back with Jen Hyde, and we had a little technical difficulties, but welcome back again, Jen. And the question I was asking you, did you ever want to be in the circus now?
Yeah, I would run away with the circus today if I could. I don't think I mean, to be in the circus, you need to train, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 8 days a week. And I have too many passions and too many loves, that I've never been able to give it 100% my full attention. But yes, I would leave tomorrow if the circus would take me.
Well, I'm glad we're having you on the show tonight, because after you see the circus tomorrow or whenever you're seeing it, maybe that'll be the last time we see you locally.
Right.
And the amazing thing about you, Jen, is that not only you are so enthusiastic about this, but you do so many other things. And so I have to ask you, just in the remaining time here, how do you get into face painting?
Just wanting to decorate and celebrate. I just remember in college, we would always just play dress up when we had parties, and I've got my hands on some face paints, and I would just love. I find that when people wear face paint, it changes the way they walk in the world, and all of a sudden the world feels more magical. Feels more fun, and people respond to you differently. So the world looks at you with more joy and celebration, and I love creating that.
So that's something else you do, face painting, and you actually have painting. You talk about what you do as a face painter.
So I often work at markets and different. Yeah, I often work at markets and different events, mostly in Western North Carolina or South Carolina, Tennessee, places close by. I have a unique style in that I have folks lay down on a table and they close their eyes, and I paint them upside down. So they get a moment of luxury and relaxation. I often have parents say it's the chillest their kid's been all day. I have adults say they wish they could stay there all day. It just feels delicious to be painted. Um, yeah, and I offer henna temporary tattoos as well when I do that.
And talk about the face painting. So this is something that they can find out again at the website, and see some
Mhm.
great pictures of stuff you've done. What's that website again then too?
Bodyartmagic.com. So I
And
mostly do markets, but I also do private parties as well.
Okay, the cool thing is face painting, there's no age limit on that.
Absolutely not. I would say maybe 1 and 2-year-olds aren't too fond of it, but no, all ages. It's a wonderful thing to bring joy into the world.
And what's the oldest you ever did face painting?
I mean, you don't ask people's ages.
But I mean, so that there'd be a chance I could have my face painted as well.
Absolutely. I've worked at events that are adults only. So it's just adults all day long that get painted, and people love coming in a group of 6 people and they all get painted together, and it makes for a celebratory occasion for the day.
How do you get the face painting off?
Just with water and soap. Yeah, it's
Okay.
professional grade paints.
Okay, but how long does it stay on?
Until you wash your face with water and soap.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it comes off. And you mentioned the other thing, which is really cool. Starting to go to the website as we talk, but you also do the what was it? The the other thing you do,
Henna.
henna. And what's that exactly?
Henna is a plant that dyes your skin. So henna is made into a paste, and so I draw a design on you. You let it dry on your skin like a clay paste, and then you brush that off once it dries, and it stains your skin for about a week.
Oh,
It
it
can
says,
last it can last up to 2 weeks if you take really good care of it. So that's a little bit more of like an elegant option.
and how long does that take for you to do?
A simple design will just take a few minutes, but it could take 20 minutes if you want something more complicated. I've done bellies, big pregnant bellies, which will take longer. And then
You,
right before a photo shoot,
you could also do my bald head, part of my bald head. You could do.
you know what? I've done bald heads before. I've definitely had bald guys come and have me give them henna tattoos.
Well, I'll think about you one time, because I once had somebody do, it was a temporary thing, a guy operating a lawnmower, and that was
Uh-huh.
on my bald head. So that's really cool. So that's something else you can do for parties and other stuff as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that takes just a few minutes. How long does the body painting, the face painting take?
Again, it can take just a few minutes if you want something simple, or I've done full faces which take longer. It just depends on what kind of how elaborate of a design you want.
I love the concept you came up with, or you're now calling it body art magic, which I think is really cool. It kind of summarizes what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so wonderful to be in a body in this world. It's not always wonderful, right? But
Right.
we've got to celebrate what we can when we can.
Can people who don't have not only perfect bodies, but they're, well, even handicapped, do you work with any handicapped folks with
I,
disabilities?
I haven't particularly worked with handicapped folks, but I have friends who have. Yeah.
Okay, must be very
Um,
exciting. Yeah.
oh, and it's beautiful to watch. Yeah, absolutely.
And the same thing too, the beauty, the cool thing about your art is that it's open to anybody, so just, what I guess happens, so when you draw somebody's face painting, it creates, what's the reaction they have when their face is painted?
Well, that's probably the best part of the job is showing them the mirror after I paint it. and I often get a face like, yeah, which is the exciting, the magical moment. Um, or some people, as soon as they see in the mirror, they transform. So if they got painted into a tiger, all of a sudden they start growling and clawing people as they jump off the table. So people love becoming other beings and shape shifting.
Do they have a choice as to what's going to be on their face? Can they tell you what they
Absolutely.
want on it?
Absolutely. I have a board with lots of options, but I also take requests all the time.
I would think would be fun if you combine the two things. Do you ever do that at an aerial party or aerial get together and people have their face painted?
Not yet, but it's a
Okay.
great idea.
No, wouldn't it be a fun, I'm thinking out loud, I'm planning a party. Wouldn't that be kind of an
Absolutely.
unusual party to
Hmm.
say, and you're going to have a different experience every time?
Yeah. Hmm.
What, aside from joining the circus, when you get older and grow up and run away,
Hmm.
down the road, what do you see yourself doing?
I mean, the goal, like I think most people, is that I just get to do this more and spend less time um, telling people about what I do and more time actually being with people and experiencing what I do. Because I also teach movement classes, and those are, different angles of how to engage with people and enrich their lives. And I mean, I'm doing what I love, so I want to keep doing it
And
as
so you
long as my
mentioned,
body will allow me.
and you mentioned movement classes. What are they
Mhm.
about?
Well, as I said, I've traveled a lot, and my biggest passion in life is learning. So I go places and then I study there. So I've picked up a lot of different movement modalities that I love to facilitate. So I teach clown classes, which is probably my all-time favorite. I teach acro yoga classes, contact improvisation. I learned a form called Story Bridge, which is where people bring their stories together to create a performance. Consent classes, which I created after realizing that I was doing consent in all of my classes. And so let's just focus on consent. I do a class that I created called Games for Connection and Community Building, which is taking like little bits from all these things to help talk about what do we need when we want community in life, what skills do we need, and how do we look at those and create them through games, because I think we need to be able to play together if we want to be able to work together.
And the cool thing, what I hear you saying, is that this doesn't have to be for 8-year-olds. It could be for adults. And
Oh
that,
no. Oh,
you,
and one more class that I teach that I forgot to mention is Theater of Liberation, which is based on Theater of the Oppressed, which is a class that looks at power dynamics, but we look at it through play.
very cool. And so I think
Yeah.
the best bet to tell folks is if you want to learn more about Jen Hyde, or you want to learn
Mhm.
about, I'm just blown away by this website, about her circus arts, her face painting and henna, her movement classes, see a lot of cool pictures. Best bet is to go to the website. And once again, that website is,
bodyartmagic.com.
okay, and I think you'll just smile when you look at it, like I'm smiling now. Like, thank you, Jen Hyde, for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World podcast. And I'd also like to thank my friend Cappy Tassetti, who is my producer. Hopefully, we'll see you sometime in the near future. If
Thank
not,
you so much. It's my pleasure.
okay, if not in the circus, we'll see you
On
we'll see you in the circus or
the-
in town. Thanks, Jen. Good speaking to you.
You too. Thank you.